All right, next topic. We're going to talk a little baseball, sort of. So, if you have been paying attention to anything, particularly, specifically Georgia politics, a new voter bill, if that's the best way to describe it, it went into Governor Brian Kemp, signed it. It had a ton of restrictions that have not been there before. And restrictions is really the nicest, most professional way to say what it is.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball and others reacted to this. And specifically Major League Baseball pulled the All-Star game from Atlanta. It will now be in Colorado. That is the only thing that is changing. Brian Kemp, instead of calling out anybody in the baseball world, released a statement blaming Joe Biden and Stacey Abrams, because they're heavily involved in day-to-day baseball operations. So makes sense for him to be blamed. But I do think that it's a more complicated issue than it's being made out to be. For the record, this bill, I believe, is voter suppression. I believe it is wrong. I believe it is made by a bunch of salty politicians that did not like that there is a group of Georgians that were finally empowered and who got so sick of politics that they put up with the voter suppression that is already in effect and turned out in record numbers. There's no reason for this to exist. And then there's little things. The one thing that gets me, and I just cannot hear anybody who defended this defend, it is illegal to hand out water to people in lines.
Yeah.
Why put that in there? What, like that's one. The other stuff, I can understand that people are finding ways to defend them. I do not agree, but I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I see how you got to that point. I see how you can take stuff out of context. I don't know how you defend this. My thing with it, and this still frustrates me, is that moving the All-Star game does not hurt Brian Kemp. He really doesn't care. It gives him a chance to complain and to claim cancel culture, and now he probably can make himself out to be a martyr. He does not care about working Georgians. Because if he did, we would have seen it in the past year where people in his state were dying.
Yeah.
He had a great chance to show that he cared, and it was literally life or death. And he was like, we got to reopen the state. I'm going to sue Atlanta because they were wearing masks.
Right.
I'm going to go get them.
Right.
And specifically with the All-Star game, a lot of those workers are from blue counties.
For sure.
And so I think it hurt the wrong people. And so I'm very conflicted because I agree with the message that Major League Baseball is trying to send.
Mm.
And I just think I don't know if the friendly fire outweighs the message or overshadows it in any way.
So I'll just say this. I got asked about this earlier today from some magazine.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have been able to be as articulate as I think I'm about to be now.
There we go.
I think that aside from the law, banning the water, because that's what everybody's highlighting, right?
Yeah.
But the real things that are in it are basically taking away the ability for people to govern. They're basically the people taking away the ability for people to govern elections from the people that it has been. So essentially, what Brian Kemp is prophesying by this is like, if we lose power in Georgia the next time I run and Stacey Abrams runs, the people who would be in charge of the election would be people who are of her party. And so we're taking it away from being able to, for those elected officials to choose it, to put it in the hands of people who don't look like the electorate. Right? Which just goes into gerrymandering and all those things, right? Mm-hmm. So it's very twisted and terrible, right? Now, okay, we're going to talk about who it hurts. And they said roughly $100 million worth of revenue is lost because of this. And these are people like, well, they're taking away from small businesses and people of color and all this stuff. And I laughed when I heard that coming from the right, because I don't know if they know this, but the team used to be in Atlanta.
Yes.
Where way more black people lived, and they moved it to Cobb County where way less black people live.
In the middle of the night.
in the middle of the night, right? So to be like, huh, you're gonna hurt the people that you say you helping, not like moving it out of the heart of the city, did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not in any way. You think about all the millions of dollars that was lost in that area where like majority black and brown people live. You know what I mean? So like, I don't want to hear that. I thought that was bad faith, right? Like, you're not having any context of history. The thing that gave me the most, I guess, assurance that I shouldn't feel too bad that it happened was, I know, and again, these people with these bad faith arguments are like, well, we were going to honor Hank Aaron.
Oh gosh.
We were going to honor Hank Aaron. How dare you take that away from us? Oh. And thank God for Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker's got it rough. He's got to coach a team that everybody hates. They're throwing plate trash cans out there, and he have nothing to do with that. And he's got to talk about that every day. This poor black man, he's old. He don't deserve none of this. But to his credit, and this is what I love, he spoke out and said he thinks Hank Aaron would have stood with the people. And why would he say that? Because that was one of his good friends. He was Hank Aaron's rookie, right? Had it not been for COVID, I guarantee you, he would have spoke at Hank Aaron's funeral, right? He is him and Hank Aaron were tight. So for him to have an understanding of who Hank Aaron was and say, hey, Hank he would have been okay with this too. The rest of you get in line, because I think honestly, it means more. I think, in the past when people were talking about boycotting at Georgia for different things. Yeah, that's important, but like moving baseball, which is, I don't know if you know this, very white. That sends a way bigger message to the powers that be, that if you want to be a thriving economy, it needs to be a thriving economy that pays attention to marginalized people, right? And so of all the different types of boycotts, I think taking away of the baseball is way more important of a move than anything. You can get the All-Star game years to come, right? You can that will be fine. Did I want to go? Did I have it planned out to be vaxxed up and then pull up at the All-Star game? Oh, you already know. I had a hotel. I had a weekend I was ready, but I think it's the right move. And you move to the place in Colorado, which is still very white.
It is.
But also, voting wise, they allow for same-day registration, which means they are cool with access to people being expanding access for people to be able to vote. Also, the whole idea, right? This two things. I think having this whole other podcast that has to do with politics is kind of messing with my head. Shout out to the Confused Caucus if you live in Georgia, pay attention to that. Anyway, two things that bother me about this. One, him bringing up Joe Biden and Stacey Abrams. He gonna learn to keep Stacey Abrams' name out of his mouth, because every time he do, she come back and get you, bro. Yeah. She the only reason Georgia flipped. She's not the only. She's a big reason why Georgia flipped blue. And now y'all gonna learn to keep her name out your mouth. First of all, but second, bro, this whole idea is based on a false narrative that somehow the election was fraudulent. Yeah. And you know who said it wasn't fraudulent? People that he hired, Republicans that he hired to be over the election. Yeah, he himself. So what are you doing? Yeah. What are you doing? You're very nonsensical. So am I upset? Of course, I'm disappointed. Yeah. But at the same time, hopefully people get the lesson.
Where do you think the line gets drawn, where things like baseball aren't just like, and because I know
they can be left alone.
Like not that it can be left alone, or that baseball should not use their platform to fight things that are wrong. But and I will say this, because I do hate this term, but like, just since we have this safe space that I can ask this and cut it out if I need to, is there a slippery slope to now baseball deciding who deserves baseball?
So it's not. I hear what you're trying
to say. Like, should they ever pull franchises? Should they ever black out baseball to certain TV areas? Like, where do you think that the line should be drawn, if at all?
So I think this could work. I think this particular protest works because it is not a thing that is long-term. It is a one-time move. It is a show. It is a gesture, just like the game itself. It is a gesture of goodwill. Here is baseball for this area. Here's an all-star game, right? So long-term, people don't really lose out. So I think it is a perfect opportunity. I also think baseball was one of the sports that kind of was quiet last summer.
Very quiet.
Like they were just like, hey, right? We'll to put a BLM. What is basketball doing? Like they're ill-equipped to deal with any of this. Mm-hmm. So I feel like at the core it was I'm gonna call it a reach, but they definitely were like, listen, we did not do our thing yet. So I think people are unsure of where we stand. So let's do this thing, right? I think it's all business. I think politics is all theater, and I think that this was just good theater for the progression of voter for better voting laws, right? Like all things are like I think it's all theater, right? Martin Luther King had children march. You think they just wanted to have kids out there? No, he knew what it looked like. You know what I'm saying? Like he knew what it looked like to have those children in stark contrast to these people getting ready to beat people up. It showed people what was going on. So I think this was just theater, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it highlights the fact that like, y'all really had more smoke for the one lady knocking on the door. Shout out to Park Cannon. Y'all had more smoke for her than y'all had for people trying to attack the Capitol. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she was just trying to say, hey, this bill is trash. Actually fighting for the people. So I think it's all theater, and I think it's important theater, and I think that maybe it's a slippery slope. But I also think this is such a one-time deal because it's an all-star game. Look, they're going to get it wrong eventually. Baseball will not bat 1,000. They're going to be very wrong. Probably I would guess the next 48 hours. They're going to do some trash.
Well, that's honestly, I thought they were going to fumble the handoff. I thought they were going to make this stand here and be like, so we're taking the All-Star game to Florida. Or we're going. And so that was my thing is, and if you are baseball, and I do think this is something, if you're going to take this stand here, you are now setting a precedent that you are going to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where, like, I thought they might have gotten themselves in a little bit of trouble. We're being like, we're not going to be here. And it's like, all right, we'll find a state that's perfect.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of issues that people have with Georgia is when when these laws are being changed.
Right.
Not just the laws, but the timing of them.
Right.
And so that is also, I do understand that plays into it. But there is, like when the NBA was saying like, hey, we're not going to play the All-Star game in North Carolina.
Right.
And they were like, all right, well, your guys are going to a few foreign countries.
Yeah.
So
but you know what? Here's the thing. I think maybe sports are teaching us this. Nobody is going to be all the way. There is no perfect way.
Yeah.
You make your stance, you fail at others. Not to okay them.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I think, bro, you really asking corporations to do right by people? They don't care about people. And then they care about your dollar. You know what I mean? And they thought that having it in Georgia would hurt the big dollar. It would hurt the small dollar, the Atlanta dollar, but it would hurt the big dollar because all these brands were like, hey, we're not feeling comfortable right now. So it's a money thing. So that's people are going to make the wrong decisions on some money thing, and they're going to make some of the quote unquote right decisions on the money thing. I think hopefully we'll learn that it matters, but it don't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like there is no slippery slope because they don't see themselves as being on a slope. They're just like, we just did a thing.
For the record, I will say I do think 60% of slippery slope use is boogeyman.
Yeah, quite a bit.
So I do want to say that also that I dislike this bill. I hate it. I'm glad Major League Baseball is bringing awareness to it across the country. And on the least important note, Coors Field is going to be a fun place for an All-Star game, fun place for a home run derby.
Yeah.
I'm so glad they picked there.
Really?
I don't know. Like I think it's the best location for an All-Star game.
For a home run derby for sure. I mean, yeah, I'm not mad at it. No. I'm not mad at it.
So, all right, we'll move on. But also check out the Confused Caucus podcast. It drops every Tuesday. So there's episodes up right now.